Good afternoon. Welcome to Indie Soul Magazine on Indie Soul Television. It is my pleasure today for our very first interview on Indie Soul Television, or iSoul Television, I should be saying, to welcome a recording artist from the Cleveland area, which you're going to meet in a minute, which you see why he has this Cleveland Brown shirt on. But great brother I met a few months ago. And we're gonna get into the whole thing, but he's our spotlight artist, our first spotlight artist ever on iSoul Television. So we want to welcome him to the platform, Mr. Wade Sealong. Good evening, sir. How are you today?
Good evening. I'm doing awesome. How are you?
Hanging in there. Can't complain.
All right.
You know, I gotta tease you just for a second.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know where this is going.
Come on, man. What the Cleveland Browns? Come on. I mean, I'm a Cleveland Brown fan from back in the Bernie Kosar era.
Okay. For a fan is a fan. Loyal. This here, what you see here is number 24, Mr. Nick Chubb jersey.
Yes.
He did a little bit of damage last night on Thursday Night Football, so I had to represent my boy.
He's actually an underrated running back.
Yeah.
He's doing something. They just got to get the passing game going. You got to get your Baker Mayfield going and playing the right way. But
right.
Other than that, let's get into this whole music thing.
Absolutely.
Start off by telling people you are from Cleveland, Ohio area, but currently you are living where?
Currently, I'm living in Los Angeles, California.
All right. So let's really go back and get into this. How did you get involved in music, and what brought you to the West Coast?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I first started music. My mom said that she could tell I was musically inclined when I was about the age of 3. I was walking around the house singing. She could tell something different about my musical gifts. Come from a musical family. My dad sang gospel pretty much locally, a little bit outside of locally. My grandmother was my first piano teacher. So I had a musical family to start with. And I joined the choir in church when I was young, and then started singing in school pretty much simultaneously. And it's been a part of me the whole time. Back in 2007, a music partner of mine and myself, we had a opportunity that was set up here in Los Angeles that unfortunately fell through once we got here. But at that time, I had fallen in love with the city and decided to stay anyhow.
So what is it about music that you love? It's one of the hardest fields to get in. So why do you love music so much?
I feel like music is the expression of life and everything within it. There's not a subject, if you can think of one, pointed out to me, but there's not a subject that you cannot make a song about. So music is an opportunity to express every part of life, whether it's a romantic part of life, a spiritual part of life, social part of life, friendship part of life, songs about the weather, songs about old stories written in the 1700s that people just decided they were going to bring into a song in the 2020s. So music is one thing that you can express whatever you're feeling at the moment and most likely find a song for it. And if there isn't one, you can create one.
So currently you have a project out. Is this your first or is this your second project?
Well, it's my first full-length LP. I had an EP in 2014 called Love Is, which was a really cool project. This was my first project outside of just doing a single. But Nostalgia is my baby. Nostalgia is probably the culmination of everything that I've been doing in the past few years, and it's been really going great. I'm getting a lot of great feedback from it.
Was there any trepidations in releasing the album?
Yeah, there was a little bit because I released some music before and I felt like it didn't catch on well the way that I wanted to. So I decided at the beginning of 2020, I make music in various styles. So I decided at the beginning of 2020, I was going to release 4 singles, vastly different. And I said, if any of them caught on, that is kind of the direction I would try to follow for the album. I had a song that I released called Bulljiving, and which was the last song that I really expected to jump off. It got a little bit popular and people started asking, well, when's the album coming out? And I was like, that's a good question. When is the album coming out? And so I kind of went back into the lab and completed some things and put together what I felt was a quality album to put out for the people.
Was there any fear of, we know in the music business, they like for you to be young or have a certain look. Was there any fear in you releasing this music and not being taken seriously or even listened to?
Oh, yeah. But if you know my life a little bit, I've always kind of had a bit of an underdog type of vibe to me. So this was kind of no different. I felt like if there was people out there who music resonated with, then they would let me know. And if it didn't, they would let me know too. And it just so happened that I would say that just going by my demographics, I've been able to study probably the most popular age group that my music is popular with are people who are around my age group and a little bit older, which makes sense. And I feel like if I have music that's going to mainly resonate with them, then that's cool too.
Well, good, because that leads me into this next question.
All right.
Of being older and you understand the music business. In this day and age, they want to put you in a certain category. What category would you say that your music is in and relates to?
If I had a choice, I wouldn't put it in one. I'm not a big fan of categories whatsoever. I suppose if I had a category, I would call it smooth jazz. If I had a B category, I would call it soul or UAC, which is adult urban contemporary. But I go outside of that. On my album, there's rock songs. I'm working on some stuff now for the second album that might be considered more Western. I grew up listening to all different types of music, and so I hate to have to categorize it to a specific genre. I don't really feel that I understand the need for it as far as classifying and radio being able to just label things a certain way to make things more organized for them. It's not my, I'm not a huge fan of categorization myself.
So in saying that, do you identify yourself as an independent artist?
Definitely. I have what is Sealong Music Group, which is my own label. At this time, I'm the only artist on it, but even it being a label, it's still an independent label. I'm not backed by any larger conglomerates, any of the majors out there. I'm totally built in-house. And so everything that I'm doing is from in-house. So I definitely consider myself to be an indie artist. And I'm proud of it.
Oh, very good. So in saying that, because a lot of artists today don't understand or they don't have a definition of what indie artist is, I would like to hear what your thoughts are on what an independent artist or an indie artist is.
Sure. So independent artist pretty much is what it sounds like, as opposed to belonging to a record label that is larger, maybe has more money and more reach, more of a reputation. You, in a lot of ways, are your own label. And there's a lot of work that goes into that because you have to sometimes be marketing. You have to sometimes be creative. You have to sometimes be from the production side. You have to be your own label president. But I would say some of the rewards that come from that is the creativity, having control over your own creativity. Not, for instance, if you're with a larger label, a lot of times they are going to require that you stick to a particular genre. Not wanting to do that necessarily. It's probably a better place for an indie artist because you can make your own calls on that. And you also get to learn a lot, and you also, there's not as many hands touching it, but then also you get to keep more of your own income too. So there's good parts and bad parts. It's just for what I'm doing and what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing at this time. Being an indie artist works best for me, not necessarily everyone.
So in saying that, if a major label came to you, would you choose to be with the major label, or would you stay being an independent artist? What are some of the things you are looking for from a major label if you were going to establish doing business with them?
That would be some tough decision making, because I would appreciate the reach that's probably comes with that, and the relationships that have already been built with radio and with other venues that could make my music go farther. But I would have to be able to maintain a nice amount of my own control creatively. As a producer, there's certain things that I have to have, and even as an album producer, there's certain things that I feel like if I lose creative control of that, we'll lose the integrity of what I'm trying to do. So it would definitely be some tough decision that would have to be made if that ever became an option or a possibility.
All right. To everyone that's watching, you're checking out Indie Soul Magazine. I spotlight indie artist. I'm Mr. Wade Sealong, a musician from Cleveland, but living on the left coast in California right now. And we're talking about his music, being an independent artist, being a producer. We're going to get into that a little later on. And we're also going to talk about your project. But before I go any further, I like to do this in the beginning of the interview, because as people are listening or watching us, I want people to be able to check you out. So if you don't mind, can you please share your social media with everybody?
Oh yeah, I love to. So you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram at Wade Sealong, at WADECLONG. You can find me Facebook.com/Wade.C.Long. And you can find my website, WadeSealongMusic.com.
And I want to kind of jump to the project real quick, because as people are looking you up, I want them to be able to know what they're getting themselves into when they go to see Wade Sealong. Let's talk about the project. The name of that project is entitled
Nostalgia.
Okay, and tell us about what is Nostalgia.
Nostalgia is a collection of songs that I put together to, when I do an album, I don't like to just, or when I do a project, I don't like to just have a name to it. I want it to actually be a collection of items that can go together as a story. And so as I was putting together the album, I noticed that a lot of things that I was working on had a kind of a vibe that took me back in the day. So I decided Nostalgia would be a good title to put it all under. For me, when it comes to albums, I like for them to go together like a story, almost like a screenplay or a novel. I don't like just a collection of random songs. So I felt that title was most fitting for the project.
Something about the way she smiles that make me go 1,000 miles and think about her all the while. There is something about her. Something deep within her touch that makes my pain not hurt as much, and fills my heart with joy so much. There is something is no other. Maybe it's the way she cares, like nobody else compares. I'll gladly join my life to share, 'cause there's something about her. Something about it. Something about it. Something about her. Something. Sometimes I lay awake at night thinking. Something about it. There's something about it.
Right? And so you wrote and produced on this record, and you also did some singing, correct?
Correct. So I did all of the production, all of the writing, all of the arranging, did all of the music. There's one track called She that I had some help with bass guitar and live strings from a very talented gentleman called Hans Anderson, who also co-produced the track. The rest of everything that you hear on the entire album is from myself directly.
Mm-hmm. And She right now is the current single. Your first single was Bull Jiving, correct? I'm saying that right?
You said it correct. So Bull Jiving was the first official single released from the album. And it really has done well. It's had a long life, and it's still getting some airplay. So I'm really proud of that. And a couple months ago, we released Way Back When, which is the second single. And now She is the third single off the album.
Okay. So when people go to your site or follow you on social media and they begin to track you and listen to your music, what do you want people to know or get out of your music?
I want them to feel good. I want them to be taken an escape. Everything is so crazy in the world right now, crazy in the country. I would like for people to be able to listen to my music and just go for the 45 minutes or whatever that the project is, listening to it, just kind of being taken to a place maybe where it was less stressful, or maybe for some reason the music takes you ahead and allows you to dream. I want positive vibes. And I feel like this album gives an opportunity for that. But that's what I want. I want to be able to make a difference in how people feel emotionally, whether that's inspiring them or making them think about somebody who's special to them, or just put them in a real chill mood. That's what I want out of it.
What do you want to say to radio, both terrestrial and internet radio stations, when it comes to your music? It's your chance right now to sell your music to those radio stations.
Just listen. Please be open-minded. Try not to be so stuck in a box that you don't allow yourself to dream about what music could be in the future. And mainly give it a chance and see what happens.
All right. And your music is available where?
My music is available on pretty much all digital platforms. You got Spotify, Google, Apple Music, Tidal, pretty much every music platform. You can find it on YouTube. I'm everywhere. I'm out there, so go check it out. Definitely.
All right. So for you, you're pretty much ingrained into your music career as a performer and doing production. How do you balance the two, and then at the same time run a record label?
Oh, that's a really great question. I have to divide it into time periods. Like this week and next week, I might be writing. Next couple of weeks, I might be arranging. Next few weeks, I might be producing. And so that I don't get so worn out being someone who does it all by myself, I will switch. And then maybe I'm just doing marketing the next couple of weeks, or maybe I will divide it up by days. It all depends on what's going on. If I'm working with another artist for their project, usually I will step away from what I'm doing just to kind of catch the vibe of whatever their project is for. And so I have to divide it up with time. Otherwise, I will try myself personally, my personality type, I will try to be involved in all of it at once. And that usually just doesn't have a really good outcome for myself.
Right. You talked about the production and working with artists. What type of artists are you looking to work with?
I'm looking to work with artists who want great music. I can produce everything from R&B to hip hop. I can do some Western. I can do some pop. I am interested in just looking to work with artists that want quality music. And I'm not really stuck on any particular genre, kind of like I was saying earlier. I'm open to fusing different types of styles together. Whatever that artist is feeling, I can probably find something that will work for their project. So I don't like to put any limits on it. I really just like to be available for artists, period.
So when it comes to working with artists, because both of us get our emails full with people that say, "Oh, I can do music, I can do this and that."
Absolutely.
What advice would you give these new artists that are in this music game that want to be taken seriously?
You've got to love your craft. You got to love it. If you try to do it for money, if you try to do it for any type of material things, all those things are good and hopefully they come alongside of it. But if you're not doing it for the love of the music itself and for the love of being able to share your gift, you're most likely just wasting your time. Because when frustration comes in, and frustration will come in multiple times, you will not be, you need something to actually hold you there. And you're not going to be held there if you're doing it for any other reason, but just for the love of the music itself.
All right. And I know we've talked prior to setting up the interview and talking. Sure. I actually had to stop talking to you throughout the week because we'll start talking. I'm like, I want to ask you the questions
right.
In the interview.
Right.
But what are some of the things you see today's artists doing wrong?
First, there's a lot that they're doing right. And so I don't want that to be lost. There's a lot of talented people who have really good production gifts and really good vocal gifts and arranging, and just have one thing a lot of artists are good at now is actually marketing their brand. And I think that that's cool. And that probably goes outside of music and the sports and everything. This generation has a lot of tools to be able to market themselves. So there's a lot of great being done. Some of the things that I think they could probably improve on is just learning the history of music, learning the artists who came before, understanding how that plays or may not play into whatever you're trying to do. A lot of beat makers out there are really great at making beats. Learn production, study folks like the legendary Quincy Jones, study folks like the legendary David Foster, a lot of people who, Maurice White, people who actually produced music, even Barry White, a lot of people don't know his producing talents, but he was involved. involved in the whole game. There's more to production than just making a track is as great as it can be, just making a track. But when music, what I would say was at more of its heyday, it producers, they just knew the whole game, and it made them better educated for their own right, and it gave them a sense of security and knowing that the people who were working for them and working with them were doing the right thing. It's hard to like check people if you don't know that part of the game. So you got to know the whole game. You have to know who has their hand in different parts of your money and what they're supposed to be doing and what they're not supposed to be doing in order to be able to correct them or to pat them on the back. So I think if I were to put that all under an umbrella, I would just say, I think today's artists could do a lot better at getting to know the whole game, not where there's no surprises later.
Right. You mentioned a lot of the old school producers and artists from back in the day. And so I have to ask this question. I normally ask this of people that I know have a knowledge of music. What is your definition of soul music?
Oh, that's big right there. To me, for soul music, I take things kind of literally. So the soul really has to do with the mind of man. And so I think if you can adapt music, that definition to music that stimulates your mind, first of all, that has a sort of feel in it that is going to make you feel a certain way emotionally. And then you can tie that into some of the historical elements that have been involved in what's been called soul music. A lot of times, and it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to this, there were a lot of genuine instruments. You had drums, real drums, and nothing against, like, I love to work with 808s and more programmed drums, but just authentic drum sounds, authentic bass guitars, authentic electric guitars, horns, strings. When you go back to that Motown era, that Stax era, Berry Gordy is another legendary producer that is be great to study up on. But when you go back to that whole era, there was a certain vibe that the music had to them that encapsulated the way the music made you feel based on mental stimulation of it and the musicianship that was involved in it. And to me, that probably is a good different definition for soul, but that's also probably a good way to separate soul from probably what most music that's referred to as soul now, which is R&B. But I still think there's a place for soul music, and I think it can still be done. And it can be done in new ways. There's lots of great neo-soul artists out, or there's a newer term I think that's being used for it. But there's a lot of great artists who are able to marry that old integrity, I would say, of soul music with some of the new stuff that's going on.
Okay. In talking, once again, I want you to give your social media for folks that are either just joining or catching up. Where can they follow you at and get in contact with you?
Oh yeah, you can connect with me at Wade Sealong on Twitter or Instagram, Wade, or Facebook.com/Wade.C.Long. You can also hit my website up, which is WadeSealongMusic.com.
And his project Nostalgia is currently out now. Is getting a lot of rave reviews, especially on Soul Tracks. They've been giving you a lot of a lot of good play. How do you feel seeing your project get so much love in the business right now?
Really, it's getting so much more than I could have expected. I'm just really enjoying the ride, enjoying seeing where they'll take me. Enjoying hearing little stories that people are passing along about the songs. And it's just always a surprise. Whenever I think I have an idea where things are going, this is always a curveball that's thrown. I'm really just enjoying the ride, to be honest. It's a beautiful thing.
I know you from talking to you. I know you're very critical. That's a sign of a good artist. They're always, looking to do better with their music. But is there anything you would change on your project that's out now that you would do better or do differently?
Just listening to you and hearing the question, no. But if I were to turn it on and listen to it, I'm sure I would have multiple things. What I learned I've had to do was when I'm to the point where I say the song is finished, I have to turn that part of my brain off. Otherwise, I will never complete. I will literally work on something for years. So, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, practically, there's plenty of things I know I would change about it. Little things that probably no one else will ever hear but me. But overall, I'm satisfied with how the project has turned out. Really.
COVID-19 has been hard on everybody, especially musicians.
Yeah.
I know you had a project out now while COVID-19 happened. How did it affect you and your promotion of Nostalgia?
The only big place I would say that it's affected me was being able to get out and perform it. That's a major tool in promoting, especially for an artist that might not be as well known as some other people. That really got me. But then at the same time, I had to look at what people were saying about the music, and particularly bull jiving. And there was I received so much feedback from people who were like, the song sounds fun and it sounds carefree, and it allows me to take my mind off everything that's going on in 2020 just for a few minutes. And it's just such a cool vibe. It sounds like 70s, 80s when things were probably a lot more simple in a lot of ways. And so where I'm disappointed that I haven't been able to get out on the road and perform, I feel like maybe this was exactly how it was supposed to be able to get some sound for people to be able to help them through a really crazy time.
And I know you're one of those artists that think ahead in the future. In your mind, how has the music industry changed since COVID?
It's changed astronomically. There's been like, who would have thought a year ago that pretty much every concert that we're watching online in an artist's living room or maybe in their studio. Like that's wild to me. But I'm thankful for technology, because a few years ago we wouldn't have even been able to do that. I know of a lot of projects that have been put on hold just because of the nature of things that are going on, kind of handicapped artists from being able to do what they wanted to do promotion wise. So it's also changed because of that. And then it's just with the financial hit that a lot of people have taken from COVID, like music already doesn't really sell a whole bunch. So it kind of took away from a lot of sales that we would normally get. People just don't have the money to buy music. They have money for bare necessities. And when they can stream or listen to music any other type of way for free, then that, especially in a time of economic disparity like there is now, then that's going to be the best option so they can put food on the table for their kids. So, I mean, it's totally understandable, but I would say it's had just an astronomical effect on the industry.
Well, when you're talking about the industry and making changes, we were discussing the streams and the number of streams that people are getting. Does it make you want to go harder to push your project so that you can get it streamed more and get heard more?
Yeah, in a way it does. It also makes me kind of look for little opportunities and little ways that people may not traditionally be looking for music. It makes me want to connect with maybe some of the smaller internet stations that are maybe, I don't want to say struggling, but maybe struggling is the best word as far as to really get going themselves. To me, is in a time like this, everybody kind of needs to help everybody out. So it really, I would love to get more streams and everything, and that's always a part of my game plan. It's also an opportunity to kind of look for maybe some hidden places and some places that haven't been tapped into to be able to kind of gain a following there too.
Okay, all right. And one thing I didn't do, I'll give you the opportunity now, for any artist that needs production or wants to work with you, is there an email or a phone number that they can call you at?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can inbox me on either of the social media channels, Twitter or Instagram, as I said earlier, at Wade Sealong. You can also email me, sealongentertainment@gmail.com, which is SEALONGENTER in mint at gmail.com. And I'll be glad to hit you up. I'm always looking to work with dedicated artists who are wanting to work and who I can't outwork them on their own project. I'm always looking for that.
And people that's listening right now, I can tell you that he will respond, because we met through social media. Yeah. I responded to an article that was written on him in Soul Tracks. And then we were corresponding, and then we exchanged numbers, and we've been talking. He is one of the guys, as a producer, you would want to work with, because he's very knowledgeable. And like you said, he can do a variety of different things. and he's got a plethora of music just waiting to be had. So you need to contact him.
Sitting there waiting for you, artists. It's right there.
In closing, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I would just, these are crazy days, right? So I would just say, wherever you find your place that you can keep your head up, keep the faith. Anyone who is listening, who has supported my music so far, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Anyone who will listen to it, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And just this time is temporary, so don't lose it. Just stay connected to positive things and positive people, and we will all get through this together.
All right. And in closing, I got something I want to say to you. I got your text about your Lakers. Okay, I just want to let you know I'm a Florida boy, and I'm rooting for Miami. That's all I'm gonna say.
Miami is yeah, they look kind of tough. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say nothing until they get to the finals.
Okay, we'll see.
Then we'll talk from there.
We'll see.
Mr. Long, I want to thank you for being our very first guest on ISO Television.
It's an honor.
ISO Magazine Spotlight. You know, I couldn't ask for a better dude to interview.
I really appreciate it. It's an honor. It's an honor to know that I was first. I'm sure this is going to do some really great things, and I'll always be able to say I was number one. So appreciate that.
You know, it's always got to be a first.
Absolutely.
And ladies and gentlemen, go stream the album Nostalgia, Tidal, Spotify, all your streaming networks. Listen to it and make sure you hit them up. Once again, give out your social media and your website for folks.
Absolutely. The website is WadeSealongMusic.com. Facebook is Facebook.com/Wade.C.Long. Twitter and IG @WadeSealong.
All right. One, thank you guys once again for listening, and we'll see you the next time Indie Soul Magazine on iSoul Television. Talk to you next week.
Let me be the first to say that I apologize sincerely. I regret it every time you're near me. I should have told you long ago. I should have never ever let go. Baby, I don't want you to fear me. Please hear me. Running at the end of time. Running to say you're mine. Don't need to worry. How come it's hurry? How come running? How come
finesse. Solo and soul with finesse. Solo and soul with finesse. This has been another Soul Media production.